Greetings everyone, this is Alt Lexington on the 12th of August 2019 at about 1 PM. As you can see, I'm in a Keldon class Cardassian cruiser. The reason I chose this ship is because I wanted to try out spiral wave disruptors, and this ship is suitable for those weapons. I think they're meant for this ship. I also wanted to try out the new changes to beam overload. Apparently when you overload your beams you now get more shots over a longer period of time, and each shot does more damage. So I built this ship as a single target build centered around beam overload. I don't claim to be a good ship builder, but let me show you what I've done and talk you through it. I've got the spiral wave disruptors here, although I haven't fully upgraded them or re-rolled their mods. I've got 4 of them, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. I've also accompanied them with the Terran disruptor as a standalone weapon, and the Nausicaan disruptor so that it can become part of a 3-piece set along with its torpedo and its console. Now if I right click on that and go to more details, you can see by having the 3 pieces of the Nausicaan set, I will get an extra 28.5% disruptor damage for all my disruptor weapons, plus the Nausicaan weaponry can throw a web, a net, over a target, kind of like a poor man's Folian web. It throws, instead of a Folian Tetrion net, it throws instead of a Folian Tetrion web, it throws a disruptor net onto a target, which is similar but not as powerful. The 2-piece set makes that net from the torpedo and the beam more powerful, and the 3-piece gives you extra disruptor damage. So that's why I've had put on the 3-piece Nausicaan weapon set. Torpedo, beam, and console. The console alone gives you a 26.3 boost to disrupt a weapon, but with that 3-piece bonus as well. So that's quite a lot of bonusing from all my disruptors. Plus the console is good for shielding and power transfer rate. I've also put on the Borg kinetic cutting beam along with its console. The console is good for crits, crit chance and crit severity. It's also good to resist control effects in case you get caught in a tractor beam. And it does a little bit for your hull as well. And you get a +5 weapon power. So if your weapons down here aren't 125, that will get you up to 125. Plus it's part of a 2-piece set with a cutting beam. So when you fire your weapons, it doesn't cost you as much power per shot, so you can fire more shots with less power, so you won't drain your weapon power so much when you've got this 2-piece set on, which means your weapons will remain strong for longer. I've got the colony deflector for its crits, crit chance and crit severity mostly, and the colony, the fleet Dranor colony warp core, basically because of lack of options, and it gives you a good plus 66 power transfer rate. It's not a bad warp core. Now these two, although they come from the Draenor colony, they're not part of the same set. They're standalone items. Unlike these two, the engines and the shields, they are part of the Nukara Reputation set. And if I go into more details, for having two pieces of that set on, you get a 5% bonus weapon damage. So that's pretty good. Some people would go with the competitive engine and shield from the competitive reputation, but I find the engine a bit too hard to control. I'm not very good at piloting, so the competitive engine tends to give me the speed boost at the wrong time. Like when I'm heading towards a target, that's when I get the speed boost, which cuts down my time on target, because I go straight past them before I've even finished my attack run. Temporal Negotiator, I think that's from the Phoenix lockbox these days, is it? Or is it from an episode reward? I can't remember, but what this does is it reduces the cooldown on my bridge officer abilities, and I mostly use it for science team, tactical team and engineering team, because science team's the shield heal, engineering team is the hull heal, and tactical team will put my strongest shields between me and my target. I've got Subspace Field Modulator, which is basically a poor man's cloak. Though you do not want to use this when you're up against an enemy that uses proton weapons, because it'll get you killed due to its minus 400 proton resistance rating. And we've got Red Matter Capacitor in case I run low on power and need a quick power boost. Now here I could put anything I want. Probably energy amplifier batteries from the Beam R&D school would probably go there if I wanted to increase my firepower a bit more. However, I don't like to use consumables on my day-to-day play, because it can get a bit annoying having to continually craft consumables or pay for them or whatever you do. Now, these two are go-to consoles from the Lobby store. Bioneural, I have that for the crit severity, and it's good for your hull as well. But mostly it's for that massive 26.2 critical severity. And this I have on because it does your critical severity good and your critical chance, but I've mostly got it on for the flight turn rate, because in a single target ship you need a good turn rate so you can turn and face your target, keep on them, although it's not so essential on a beam build like this is. For more turn rate I also put on Conductive RCS with EPS, because I get flight turn rate from this and a little bit of extra shielding, which is good. I mean, there's probably a better mod than EPS for turn rate, but I don't have that mod on this character, and I don't want to re-roll away from EPS because that's good for power transfer rate. And I've got my damage resistance console, which also gives me more shielding. I think this comes from the episode Ragnarok. So we've got the Ragnarok shield armor, the Borg Reputation, Omega Reputation console, 2 from the Lobby store, and this one is crafted in the engineering crafting school, R&D crafting school, I believe. And it's quite hard to craft it because it takes there's a small chance of getting the mod you want, and it's not an easy console to get hold of. Well, it never used to be when I first crafted it. I had to craft about 50 of them before I got one with the EPS mod, but I believe now you can reroll mods. I'm not sure whether it works on this. I've got 2 consoles from the Delta Research Lab with Drain X ×2 on one of them, so I can improve my shields, stop them from being drained so easily, and drain enemy shields with my weapons. And the second one I've got on here has only one Drain X on it, but it also has a Crit X, because I found that on this ship my control resistance was a little weak, and since I didn't need any more shielding because I've got plenty of that, I decided to go with a bit more Control X to resist tractor beams a little. Also, I don't have other things on this ship like hazard emitters or polarized hull, so I had to go with something that would reduce my resistance to control effects. I mean, improve my resistance to control effects. In my tactical consoles, I could have gone with Spire vulnerability locators or exploiters. For a beam overload build would be good to use exploiters for that critical damage. However, I don't like to use those consoles much because I've used them so many times in the past, and they tend to limit what other things I can put on my ship. If I filled this up with locators, then that means I'll have less choice, less spaces to put other choices in. I mean, I wanted DPRM because it comes with a good clicky. It also gives you a passive boost to your weapons and your damage resistance. And when paired with this console, you not only get what this console does, which is extra projectile damage, but if you click on the 2-piece and scroll down to where it says 2 pieces of the set, you can get an extra 33% disruptor damage. DPRM comes from the prototype Dreadnought, only available in a lockbox, I believe. And the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead comes from Captain Archer's NX Class Enterprise. I believe that's in the Lobby store. And finally, I've put on the Spiral Wave Disruptor Lance, which is a console that came with this ship. And it gives me a Disruptor Lance weapon, but it's also a Spiral Wave one, so it goes nicely with my other Spiral Wave weapons. So this ship would be more powerful if I was to put on tactical Spire consoles or the Drenar Colony consoles, but I'm shying away from those these days because they're just, I don't need them really. I feel like my ship is powerful. It may not be ultimately powerful when not using them, but it's powerful enough. And I don't use energy amplifiers because it's a consumable. As I say, I don't like using consumables. I don't know why my loadouts always say unsaved changes, even though I've saved them multiple times. That's just a glitch in the game, I believe. If we look at the mastery, You can see it comes with a trait that gives you critical chance and critical severity upon use of certain captain abilities like aceton beam, surgical strikes, torpedo transport warhead. So that's a pretty good trait, depending on the kind of build you're doing. And for this build it seemed to work out well, so I did use this trait. I'll get to traits in a minute. Stats. As you can see, my power transfer rate is very high. I mean, you don't really want to go less than 200 with power transfer rate, but I've got 400, and that's mostly due to this console with its plus 100. I don't need this much power transfer rate, it's just the way things worked out when I put on these consoles for other reasons. I also got the power transfer rate, which I don't really need. It's got a nice hull, and its shielding it's average shielding, not too weak but not super strong, and a decent shield regeneration and fairly good resistances to damage. My criticals, accuracy doesn't really do much. That's mostly, from what I hear, accuracy is mostly for PvP, and since I don't do that, some say it's mostly for cannons, not just PvP, but I don't really need it with beams. My crit chance may not be that high, but it's high enough, and my crit severity is really quite high, considering I've got no endeavours done. I'd class this as a high crit severity more over a high crit chance, so my beam overloads will do a fair bit of damage, hopefully. Tactical abilities, some good penetration going on for both shields and hull, so those beam overloads will strike in deep and improve critical chance. The two important ones here, control resistance and shield drains. You can see why I went with crit X on one of my restorative consoles instead of 4 times 2 there and 2 there. Instead of 4 times drain X, I went with 3 times drain X and 1 times crit X, because this is quite high with pre-drain X's. So a crit X for control resistance was a novelty to add that in, and I needed it. Flight speed and turn rate is pretty good. Well, flight speed is pretty good. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. Turn rate is much better than the flight speed would suggest. And the turn rate is mostly from this console and this one, from the conductive RCS and the tachyokinetic. I wanted a good turn rate because I've gotten used to flying ships that turn a bit faster now. And for visuals, I've got the temporal set on only for visuals from the temporal reputation, because it makes my ship look nice, gives it a nice brighter looking hull and a rainbow deflector kind of animation. Excuse me while I have a drink. Coffee. Now, I called it U.S.S. How Many Lights? Because as we all know, there are 5 lights, and if you see 4, you're wrong. There's 5. Even if there's only 4 there, you're still wrong because there are 5 lights. I'm telling you there are 5. There may only be 4 present, but I'm telling you that equals 5. And if you don't like it, too bad. I don't know if you've seen the episode of The Next Generation called Chain of Command. You'll understand that joke if you've seen that. Where Captain Picard is captured by a Cardassian torturer and is tortured. It's an old joke. Skilltree. Same as always, I never really change this because it costs each time you do. And it's tactical ultimate with a bit of engineering thrown in, and the only science I've got is for my targeting sensors. I went with Intel for my primary specialization because this is an Intel ship, and also the Intel specialization has abilities that will work well with this ship's trait, and this ship's trait works well with beam overload, which is what I was going for. And I've put on command secondary. I believe it's because it was giving me a bit more hit points that I kind of felt like I needed. I'm sure there was a reason why I went with command secondary. I'll have to figure that out. Normally I'd go with strategist, but I wanted to go with command instead. I think it's because this is a command ship. I'm not... Yeah, that's why. It's because this is a command cruiser. That's why I went with command, just to stay within theme and see if it works. Although strategist would probably be a better option. I just like going with theme sometimes. As for traits, for the personal space traits, we've got beam training and beam barrage and grace under fire, which will help my miraculous repairs and keep me alive because it reduces the cooldown on miraculous repairs, which is the most powerful engineer's ability. And since I'm an engineer, torpedo training and projectile penetration, and Nadion bypass is another good one for engineers because it gives you extra weapon damage every time you hit this tool down here, Nadion inversion. It's quite a powerful thing for an engineer to have. Critical chance and minus threat generation, which is good because when you're doing your beam overload you're going to generate a lot of threat. So minus 25% threat generation. This is where strategist might have been a better choice for my secondary specialization than command. Command is mostly for tanking, and this isn't a tank because command has attract fire as well and threatening stance. Sorry, not strategist has attract fire and threatening stance, whereas command doesn't, which is odd really, because these are command consoles. You'd think command abilities, so you'd think attract fire, diversionary tactics would be more suited as a part of command rather than strategist specialization. Elusive. which helps me reduce my threat a bit more for my beam overloads, and self-modulating fire, which gives me shield penetration every time I there's an my memory's failing me this morning. I think with directed energy modulation, that gives you more penetration, paired with this penetration and a duty officer that I've got, it's a nice kind of like a three-piece combo, although it's not technically part of the same sets or anything, but it all amounts to more shield penetration. Because I've got a duty officer that works well with this directed energy modulation to reduce my weapon power cost, and this penetrates along with them. I think they've actually changed this since I last read it. I think it was working with directed energy modulation, but now you don't need it to work with it. As I say, I'm not a good ship builder. Now let's go down to space traits, starship traits. This makes my weapons fire faster. Every time I launch a torpedo, this will make my energy weapons stronger. This one comes from the Arbiter battlecruiser. This one comes from one of the Odyssey class, or Scimitar, or I can't pronounce that Klingon one. This will help beam overload, directed energy flux. Now, where did I get this from? I just can't remember. It's been a long time. But it helps beam overload every time I use directed energy modulation. I don't have temp ops abilities on this ship, but I do have directed energy modulation down here. So every time I strike that, I will get a damage buff for my beam overload. And it's plus 25%, which is massive. This one, overwhelming force. I believe this came from a Lobby Store ship. I believe this one came from a Breen ship, but I can't be certain. And this one came from a Lobby Store ship. And this time, this one helps with my single target build, because every time I put out a beam overload, I have a chance of getting a charged particle burst. And every time I do a high yield torpedo, I get a chance of a photonic shockwave. And since I'm doing beam overload and high yield torpedo on this ship, this trait will come in very handy. And it will look good too. And this is the trait that comes with the ship. So I'm not using transport torpedo intel ability. Instead I went with surgical strikes. I couldn't use them both because of lack of bridge officer space, so I went with surgical strikes. I could easily switch it over for transport warhead. But surgical strikes I think would help my beams as well, rather than just my torpedoes. So I'm getting surgical strikes to help my beam plus crits. But if I had transport warhead, I'd just be getting it wouldn't be helping my beams transport warhead, whereas surgical strikes would be. However, either way I'd get the crits. With Transport Warhead, I wouldn't get Surgical Strike help on my beams. Down here for the reputation traits, armor penetration, crits, more armor penetration, and more general damage. And I just went with all the space ones. That's the green shield bubble, the big round bubble that heals yourself and allies, the temporary cloak that boosts science stats, although I'm not really using science on this ship. Oh, if you had gravity well on your ship, which I don't, this would help a lot to hit this just before 3 seconds before you hit gravity well. It would make your gravity well a lot stronger. Chaining Tetrion damage, anti-time bubble, and a good decoy. I feel like I'm not explaining myself all that well, but this is why I don't normally do spoken word videos. Anyway, stations. As you can see, it's an Intel ship. That's why I went with Intel as primary specialization. Now, we've got our beam overload here. We've got beta to reduce enemy resistances. Tactical team to put my best shield between me and my target. Chemosite to turn my weapons into radiation giving damage. High yield torpedo, of course, to continue the single target beam, and surgical strikes to trigger the trait as well as help my beams. Better than Transport Warhead on this, I would think. Although Transport Warhead would still trigger this ship's trait. Engineering team to heal my hull. Reverse shield polarity to trick enemy weapons into healing my shields, so that it's better than emergency power to shields. And since I'm not using emergency power to shields, I can use emergency power to weapons more often. Aceton beam to trigger the trait, the same trait that surgical strikes triggers, the trait that comes with this ship. Override subsystem safeties. That makes my weapons stronger. It's kind of like emergency power to weapons in the way it works, except that there's a risk of one of your subsystems being knocked offline after its use. So if my shields suddenly go offline, or my engines suddenly stop working, it's because I've hit this too many times. And since I've got it on a keybind, that's going to happen. But it's worth it because you get the extra damage from it. And directed energy modulation. Which used to trigger this trait, I believe. Or it works well with it. Self-modulating fire. And very thin on science. So I could either put hazard emitters here or science team. Science team heals your shields. Hazard emitters heals your hull and cleanses you of debuffs. Now, I'm never sure how debuffs really work, so I think I went with shielding heal because I'm more familiar with it and used to it, and I've already got a whole heal here. Now, it's your personal choice between whether you want to heal your shields or whether you want hazard emitters. Hazard emitters could be a better choice, actually. I haven't had a chance to try it out. As for duty officers, again, if I was fighting Borg, I've got the ground officer that works in both space and ground. But I don't tend to fight Borg that much these days, but I keep him on there anyway. And for active space, I've got 2 damage control engineers to reduce the cooldown for my emergency powder weapons. I've got reducing the this saves energy whenever I hit directed energy modulation. She will help me save weapon energy, so my weapons won't use up the energy so fast, but so they'll stay hot for longer. Crit chance for all my weapons, crit severity for all my weapons, and crit chance for all my weapons. And this one is important for a beam overload build, because chance for beam overload to cause all attacks against the target to gain 35% shield penetration. So that's quite a lot for beam overload. It means my beam overloads will probably just cut straight through enemy shields and bury deep into their hull, because I've got hull penetration on this build as well. So I should get some pretty good result numbers from my beam overload. Some pretty good crit numbers and damage numbers. So that's my Cardassian Keldon. And I think we'll do a couple of system patrols and then a couple of TFOs, just to give you an idea of how it works. So we're at New Romulus at the moment, even though I'm a human engineer. And we'll depart system, and we'll start with Japori, because it's a patrol that everybody's familiar with. Most people out there would be familiar with Japori. There is one thing I forgot to show, which is how much damage my weapons are set for, but we can do that as soon as we get into Japori. I'm not going to bother with the combat meter anymore. I really can't be bothered with what DPS I'm doing. So a slow journey to Japori. Trying out the new beam overload changes. I don't know what's wrong with my head today, it's very befuddled. It's probably because I just come off of 2 very long work shifts. Alright, there's Japori. We're playing Dom Jot with the Nausicans, and now we've got beam overload on. It's like a pool cue or a snooker cue. And just to show, we are on advanced setting. So let's see what this ship can do. And you can tell it's advanced because it's got 2 bars here instead of 1. Press continue, and let's hope the Enterprise doesn't turn up. Now I could hit this button to reduce my weapons cost, but I tend to like to use shielding on this just in case. And whenever I'm in TFOs, most people will hit the weapon one. I prefer the shield, so I just got into the habit of using the shield one, so as not to do the same as everyone else when in team matches. So, target the big target first. You can see I'm not too fast. Spiral wave disruptors, Terran and cutting beam, and there it goes, beam overload. See, it's putting out some good numbers there. No fire at will this time, it's a single target build. You can see the Nausicaan disruptor net, that green net. Overkill on a small ship. See, you're getting more shots with beam overload now. I still haven't tried to trigger the traits with aceton beam or surgical strikes, which I'll do now. That surgical strikes is on it. Come on, beam overload. I need you to cool down, which is an odd thing to say for overloading your beams. There it goes, and that's the charged particle burst that just went off from one of my traits. Now we'll try aceton. I should really wait to trigger these two until beam overload is out of cooldown, but I never do things in the correct order. And it's jumped to 2 targets. Beam overload keeps going. Now let's go for the stingers first. Now come on, beam overload. Actually hit DPRM for the first time in this battle. Pick up my loot while I'm at it. You always know a ship's good if you can pick up your loot while still in combat and not have anything left to pick up at the end. So, take my reward. Take my reward. Don't try and rob me of it, game. And I won't depart just now. I want to wait for my cooldowns a bit because there's something I noticed on this ship. We can take that off now. Is if you look at my 700-day veteran and my... what is that? Superfluous emitters or whatever. Why are they swapping over back and forth like that? They're doing it all the time, non-stop, and I don't know why. I think it might be a bug, but it's an insignificant little one. Right, are my cooldowns done? More or less. So we can see that my weapons, they're only at 1800. Which isn't much, but with beam overload and beam overload going off quite often, I don't really need much general damage because I'm more about critical damage. Those were my spiral waves. This is my disruptor torpedo, which is like a ball of disruptor energy, almost like a disruptor cannon. Terran Task Force. Nausicaan beam and Borg kinetic cutting beam. Ooh, that looks like it's doing pretty well. Anyway, we'll depart system and do another patrol, shall we? We'll do Beta Thorador. We'll fight the Klingons. Oh, there's a nice ship there. That's that sciencey temporal ship, I believe, if memory serves. The 29th century one. I love seeing what other players do with their ship, especially if they've taken the time to visit the tailor or put on a nice visuals. But let's go kill some Klingons, shall we? Some dishonourable Klingon house in Beta Forador. Just a little way from Japori. But I've found I'm really enjoying flying this beam overload build. It's doing quite well, to be surprisingly well compared to what I would think it would do. And the Cardassian Keldon is a reliable ship, a kind of good workhorse of a ship. And I think it's in the Infinity logbox, if memory serves. And these temp op visuals make it look awesome, especially with the red sun. I mean, look at that deflector. That's awesome visual. We need to get a little bit closer because auto navigation ran us short. There we go, Beta Forador. Please no Enterprise. I think the Enterprise is set up to be a tank, that's why it doesn't do much actual damage. But the Enterprise does sometimes turn up in these patrols to assist you as a tank, I believe. Anyway, put on the shielding again. Go for the bigger target. Wait till we get nice and close. Trigger. Beam overload straight away. And it just cut through them. As if they weren't even there. Now we've not got beam overload now. So aceton beam. Oh, I still haven't used the lance. There it is. Just a quick brief lance, that is. Sometimes you get 2 shots, maybe 3 shots from the lance. But it's not affected by the beam overload. And the lance is very quick on this ship. It's not a prolonged, long lasting lance. Let's put on some penetration. Overkill against some fighters. Find the other fighter so we can get the next spawn. There it is. We'll go straight with aceton and surgical and nadion all at the same time. Love to see them crits fly on this build. It's no torpedo boat, but it could be. You do need to heal your shields a lot. You need a bit more healing on this ship. Don't go for the fighters, you idiot. I think they've changed the Nautican torpedo visuals. And the what's this? The point defense bombardment as well. It's either that or I haven't got lighting 2.0 on. Or have I? But some of the visuals are looking a bit better on some things. Anyway, that was Beta 4. It was rather easy. I mean, this ship has given me no trouble in advanced content. No trouble at all. It just requires me to hit my heels a bit more often, but that's because my Rysian ship was built a bit more tanky than this. Not very tanky, but a bit more than this. Anyway, let's go back to New Romulus so we can do some TFOs. I always like to start a TFO from local space rather than sector space. I don't know why. Although technical space, sector space would probably be a bit faster to get into a TFO. This ship's so pretty. Yeah, it's like a Cardassian cobra or a fish. Enter New Romulus. Fly away from the crowd. See how the engines are with this 10 pops thing, like a rainbow? That's why I like 10 pops visuals, because they're the most pretty. And you might say it's fitting with New Romulus, because New Romulus is covered in radiation. Okay, so for TFOs, let's hope we get space ones. And they are on advanced setting. So I'll join a random and hope it's space, but it'll probably be Sompek for all I know. If it is, we'll just have to power through it and get to the next one. See how it's 700-day veteran and superfluous emitters is still flicking back and forth for some reason? A minor bug that's insignificant. It's probably just a visual bug. Now I did click join that random, and it's likely to be Arena of Sompek at the moment because that event is going. But let's hope not. Borg disconnected, that's a good one.
I am 7 of 9. In this instance, I speak for the cooperative.
Press escape so I can skip the cutscene. This will be a real test now. I'm a bit nervous actually. Put on the shielding. Looks like I'm on my own. Tried to stop in time, but I kind of overshot. Die, you Borg! Do I want to liberate first? No, I better kill that first. Oh, someone's come to help me out. In another Cardassian ship, a bit more modern than my one. I'm a bit nervous at the moment because I didn't expect Borg disconnected, although it would be a good test for this ship. He's in the more modern Cardassian ship than mine. I would have liked those ships, but limited budget and all. Had to pick and choose which ships I get. Seen a charge particle burst there. These Borg, they don't seem to like spiral waves. Liberate. Has he got a cloak? Or is that quantum singularity? Alright, we hit DPRM. I'm losing some shielding in here. Aceton beam. Well, I tried to restore, but that guy seems to be focusing more, seems to have more time to do it because he's probably got a better build. Better ship, better build. There we go, beam overloading on a sphere. And another one. My shields are going down quite a bit. These Borg love to drain them, so I better remodulate.
Species 8472 is approaching.
It's a bit slow, this ship, I think. I think I might need a little more speed on it. Try the Lance. That's the problem with the Lance, it takes a few seconds to activate. And it's not there for you when you need it. Come on, let's get close enough to liberate it. 1, 2. I think he gave me a chance to liberate that time because he saw I wasn't getting there in time, so I think he gave me a chance to do so. That's a big ass torpedo. And we just got the disruptor net over that cube just then, although we didn't get enough time to see it before the cutscene.
4 shields failing.
It's still there? Not anymore. That's where fun happens. Right, I'm losing some health here. Well, that wasn't beam overload, but it's effective. Now let's see if we can... Oh, he's already done that ship, that's good. This player's doing pretty well. Better than me. Fellow Cardassian, well done. And my shields are gone again. Borg are very good at getting your shields down. Well, went a bit close to the structure there. Disrupt the rift first. And the other guy went for liberating. Didn't get me aceton beam off. There it goes. And that was beam overload. Where are we at? What am I liberating? There it is. It's a cube. Better remodulate again. I don't want to steal a kill, but his pets are taking care of it. Charge particle burst from my high yield. Liberate more. And the Rifty's got it, that's good. It's nice to have a team member that is actually doing his share. Doing more than me, in fact, I think. I'm too focusing on picking up loot, I believe. Where are my shields? They don't want to come out today. Tempted to hit miraculous repairs, but that means I might not have it when I really need it. Some over there. Can't liberate while flying, while in attack. Cool, that beam overload is cutting through the enemies now. They really have brought beam overload back up to par with other weapons, other abilities. Oh, we've been whited out by a cutscene. Sometimes you get killed by this cutscene if you engage with an enemy. Now you can disrupt while you're fighting, although my teammate got that for us. But you can't liberate. Whoa, 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 whoa! I'm too busy chatting, not looking, not paying attention. Drop a decoy. Miraculous repairs time. I'm glad I saved it. What is that ship I'm up against? Now I've got my beam overload, he don't stand a chance. Liberate, 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 please. No. Come on, torpedoes. We've got to hit them before they hit. We've got to ram those torpedoes. Rift, rift, rift. Liberate. No. Liberate. Liberate. Nope, 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 nope. It's all going wrong. Lance, come on, Lance. Hit it, hit it, hit it. Yeah. Whew. That was bit of toughness there. Disrupt, disrupt, disrupt. Attack again. Give myself a bit of brace for impact this time. This is turning out to be a real test. Surprised I'm still alive. When you're liberating and attacking at the same time, the slightest thing can ruin your liberating. And I can't see what I'm doing now. Charge particle burst was that? Or photonic shockwave? Oh. We're supposed to target the Vothborg killer while ramming its torpedoes. Nope, I can't liberate right now, too much heavy combat. Miraculous repairs helps again. Not much though. Now, do I get to it, or does he get to it first? That's good. He got to it. What's his name, anyway? Matan. Well done, Matan. You're really carrying me. Hang on. We've got a Borg killer there. Come on, strike that torpedo. Can't turn around for that one unless I hit evasive. Will I get there in time? Gravity well takes care of them. Is that true? I didn't notice that before.
You will be eliminated.
We got to the cutscene. That's me. The weak.
3 dreadnoughts, but they're attacking one another. This is your chance.
No remodulation available. Now on this one you're supposed to target the Undyne ship first, if my blooming impulse would come up. There it is, the Trephis. Got some good beam overloads going off on him. I might as well put out anti-time since they're both in the same place. The Trephis does try to run for it. Better remodulate. No, can't remodulate. Now I can. Now I've got my lance. Come on, register my clicks please. Not too much spacebar spamming, that's what I'm doing. There. That was a good kill for beam overload. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. I took with greed rather than with need. Come on, get in there. Bit of penetration and a bit of decoy. Now come on, beam overload, where are you when I need you? 5 more seconds. It's not going to work on this one. Too busy picking up loot, that's what I'm doing. Now if only I had brace for impact, because she puts out a charged particle burst. Sorry, a feedback pulse. So I don't really want to use beam overload on her until after that pulse. So I better back off a bit. Because I'll end up getting everybody killed. Well, too bad, I've got beam overload going. We've missed the optional, but you never get that, so no need to worry about that. Now I can put on brace for impact. Didn't really need it. Oh god, that was a real test. But I survived. Well, I'll be damned. I survived. And I was very distracted as well. Because my head ain't working right today. Never does. Anyway, what marks do I need? Let's see what I need. I don't need any, to be honest, but find the lowest ones, which is that one. Looks like Iconium to me. Can't get them here. I'll screw it, I'll just go for fleet marks since the bonus is up. Good God, look at all that loot, the top 2 lines. That's all from this video. Well, you never know, might help for the next match. We'll do one more TFO, I believe. Hopefully it won't be Arena of Sompek. To be honest though, I wasn't quite ready for that challenge of Borg disconnected. But it's the way it goes. So, shall we wait for cooldowns a little bit? They should be a bit faster now. Now that I'm out of combat. Just a few seconds, get the main ones done. Okay, join random. And it came up so quickly it's probably Sunpeck. I hope not. I don't want to do Sunpeck till later. As you can see, I've not put any points into my endeavours. I'm saving them all for a day of fire one day, instead of a power creep all the way along. So, where's it going to put us today? Waiting. And I haven't got any Starbase boosts, Research Lab weekly boost or Duty Officer assignment boosts, got none of that going on. Even though I've got 22 Duty Officer assignments all ready to go. All of them will give a boost, but that's not for today. I've had them for about 6 months actually and just couldn't be asked to use them. Oh, interesting. Pity I'm not doing the combat meter. No. But still. Interesting. That's a nice way to end it, isn't it? Slow rolling. Come on, mouse, click on the right one. Come on, get in there before they're all destroyed. Help out. Help your team out. I think I've already hit miraculous repairs in this match. Right, no doping off the gate. Well, can't help it sometimes. Gotta try not to target it. Oh god, I'm going slow now. Lance! Lance! Come on, Lance! And now that attracted the threat! I feel like I'm gonna die. Come on, tanky sphere. How many times have I hit miraculous repairs? Put out a decoy. And cut through some spears, come on, cut through them. At least we haven't lost optionals. Trying to get the spears that other people would find difficult to hit. Make it easy on the team with any luck. Got beam overload up. Did we get the spears? No, there's still one more. And I'm dying here. I feel like I'm dying, even though it doesn't look like it from the hull so much. But that's a welcome rest bit now. There, beam overload on the gate. I can dope now. Oh, there's a sphere left over. Better get that. Although now I've used up my evasive maneuvers. Oh no, 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 not DPSing when I'm here doing this. Come on, come on, come on, get him, get him, get him. Lance. There we go. There we go. Now I've got to get all the way over there. Come on, there we go. Yes! I got off Delta recruits and all that lot. Put out one of them in case anyone can use it. And away we go. Oh, we got through an ISA. I never expected that either. 2 Borg matches. I asked for a pass in chat because I haven't done my own. Let's see what we get if someone has. Wait around for a bit. I'll be curious to know myself what this ship did because I haven't. Oh, there we are. Oh, that was disappointing. 39k. Let's say 40k. But then again, hang on a minute. Let's have a closer look at this. The top person got 50k. The second person got 45. I got 39. And then 11 and 10. TY. So I only got 40k. That wasn't good. But then again, you've got to bear in mind that I'm not using vulnerability locators and it's a single target beam overload build. And it felt okay. I know I said I felt like I was gonna die, I'm dying, but that's really just my nervousness while making a video. It actually it's actually okay for a build, I think. I mean, well, let's depart system now and wrap this video up. As a build, I'm finding this to be working. I've played it quite a bit in the last few days outside of this video, and I found it to be working adequately. And I really am enjoying the beam overload because it's cutting through things. Which in a very satisfying manner. The ship's survivability is good if you use your clickies. It's not passive survivability on this build so much as clicky survivability. But it feels good when that beam overload starts going and you start cutting through enemies. So 40k may not sound like much, but it's working for me. I'm happy with 40k. I would have liked more, but then I think about the build and I think, no, I'm not going to get more out of this. But it's good enough for me. So I'm pleased with this ship. I like it. It feels like it's something a bit different rather than same old, and that's why I like it, because I like to go a little bit different. And the Cardassian Keldon is always a trustworthy ship. A lot of people took it on board as their main for quite some time, and back when it first came out, and newer better ones have come out since, but people still love the good old workhorse as it's thought of. Anyway, let's give you one last reminder of my build. Ooh, look at all that loot that I got just from this video. First 2 lines. Yeah, let's give a last look at the build then. So it was 4 spiral waves, not fully upgraded. That probably accounts for some of my lack of damage. Terran Task Force and 3-piece Nausicaan, which isn't the go-to anymore. The cutting beam, a lot of people say the cutting beam isn't a go-to anymore, but I still think it's good. And I am not using the vulnerability locators, as I say. And I went with different traits to what I'd normally go with, just to try them out, because I like to try out different things. And 2 of these are for beam overload. Well, 3 of them actually. One just happens to be the one that comes with the ship. And I had a lance weapon on there. And it gives plus 20 disruptor damage as well. And cooldown reduction for my intel abilities, which I'm using, surgical strikes and override subsystem safeties. Excuse me. So I think with energy amplifiers this would breach 50k, maybe 55. And if I was to switch get rid of these 2 heals, these 2 shielding consoles, and move my DPRM up and my point defense up there, switch out the Borg for another spiral wave, get rid of the Borg console, move the Lancer up there, then I could put on vulnerability exploiters. Probably would be better than locators on a single beam overload build. But still, anyway, there you go. A nice build that can survive advanced Borg matches. And a very honest, raw battles going on there with very honest and raw commentaries. Especially that Borg disconnected. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe, and hopefully comment if you like my new style of video making with spoken word rather than just mousing over the build. I hope to do more videos like this if people like them. This is Alt Lexington signing off and saying, enjoy the new beam overload, you're gonna love it. Bye.